How's it going, everyone? I've been getting a lot of questions on how to kind of start designing teams for Trial of Ascension hard mode, and you know what? This actually does work for Trial of Ascension normal mode too, because any Trial of Ascension hard mode team can work for Trial of Ascension normal mode. And so if you guys are wondering how can I really improve my teams, this is how you do it. And you can do basically the same thing with Trial of Ascension hard mode and bring it over to normal mode. So what kind of teams do you run? Like, how do you get through these stages, and how is it possible? You know, some of the damage on these stages is so insane that it's ridiculous, you know? Like, how do you get up to stages like up here with Ashabel and all of these other crazy stages and manage to complete them with without an insane amount of natural 5 stars? Okay, well, sure, there are some natural 5 stars that would help you in case, you know, some of you guys that have them, but you don't need them, actually. And if you have the right summons, or even just farmable monsters, you can do it with farmable monsters. You can actually complete this. So now, of course, with the farmable monsters, it's going to take a lot better runes, of course. But I'm just going to go through some basic team kind of builds just to kind of give you an idea. Now, we're not going to actually do the stage, but I just want to put a team together and show you exactly how I kind of came up with my auto team. Now, in case you guys don't know, I have an auto team. I'll go ahead and put it together for you. Don't just ignore the fact that it has some of the, well, basically, only one of them is, no, two of them are basically easy to get, which is Beretta and Mav. Now, this is my auto team. I auto most of Trial of Ascension hard mode with it. I think there's about 5-ish non-boss stages every single Trial of Ascension that I have to manually do. Now, this is just the basic idea of it, okay? I have a main damage dealer. Now, you're probably thinking, Beretta's not a damage dealer, and you notice how he has more HP, right? Well, he doesn't have attack power and all that kind of stuff on him. Beretta's not a damage dealer. Well, he is, actually. He puts dots on, and you need dots, you need bombs, and you could use, I think it's mainly dots and bombs. You can actually use HP-based attacks, so one of the main ones is actually Spectra. Now, ignore my Spectra. I unroomed my Spectra, so the HP is pretty low. But this one, where it's proportional to the enemy's max HP, stuff like that, you know, you need to look at skills from monsters that can synergize well with your team on every single one of the skills. Now, maybe not the first skill, but at least the second and the third one. You don't want to bring some kind of monster just for the, like Arnold, for example. You don't want to just bring Arnold because he has a second skill, okay? You're better off bringing someone that synergizes well with your team, that can pretty much do a lot, right? You want to pack as many good skills into your team as possible. So with Beretta, he's my damage dealer, and for boss stages, I can actually reduce the cooldown time, the attack bar to 0, which is huge. It is huge. And having the attack speed increase of all ally monsters by 19% is also pretty big. It helps a lot. Now, you notice I have a CC, which is crowd control, for those of you that don't know. Okay, so I use a double CC monster. Now, if you don't have Verad, of course, you can use Veramos. I use Veramos in a lot of different instances. Now, one of the most basic things to go through is if you have Briand, using stuff like this attack power decrease will help you so much. Now, if you don't have Briand, no worries. You can actually replace it with stuff like buffing, so like shield buff, like Shannon, for instance, that can slow him down and provide a defense buff. That is also quite awesome, but you would have to have them 6-star if you were to use them in Trial Ascension hard mode. So that's up for you to decide, but pretty much. Mav is actually one of the top tier monsters for Trial Ascension hard mode, I would say. He's farmable. Well, he was a secret dungeon, so he's not farmable anymore, but he's easy to obtain, so just keep that in mind. And his skill set, check this out, stuns, first skill, provokes, second, and he does this amazing third skill. This is the cream of the crop for him. So you notice none of his skills are wasted. None of Veramos's skills are wasted. None of Brian's skills are wasted. Now, of course, the first skill for, Beretta is kind of like, yeah, whatever. But, his second and his third skill are just so good. It's like, you can't pass up on him. It's the same with Chisun. And she uses all of her third skills to the best of her abilities. So let's say you don't have these kinds of summons, what kind of, way could you really step into this? And I would say the best way to do this is trying to make the team do the least amount of damage possible. And a lot of people don't get this, and the same thing works for the stage that a lot of people are on, which is Trial of Ascension Normal Mode, stage 90. The Artamiel stage, which I already put a guide out, a lot of people get stuck on it. And what people don't realize is all you need to do is reduce the damage. Bring in something like Briand to bring an AoE attack break. Easy way to clear it. Let's say you don't have Briand. All you have to do is bring some type of defense buff. Like, I don't have Shannon, but, you know, let's say you had Shannon instead of Megan. Sorry, that's the only defensive buff I have. But let's say you had Shannon. That's an easy way to make sure that you can make Artamiel do less damage and the rest of his monsters, like, you know, the Wind Monkey King. So they would do less damage. That's just a way to ensure that your team survives. The same thing works over in hard mode, most of hard mode, and that's just, you need to make sure that your team survives long enough for the dots from Beretta or, you know, Hemos or Thrain, whichever ones you're using, to make sure that it lasts. They last long enough. You know, you don't have to make every monster survive. You just need to make sure you land enough dots. And it's about 3 cycles, so you need to land the AoE dots 3 times. And if you guys actually count it up, it's 5% of the max HP per dot, and it's going to be 2 turns, right? Or 2 continuous damage for 3 turns. So that's a total of 30%, right? Okay, we're doing some math here. And you're going to land that 3 times, 90%, and then you also have to take in the damage that you do to them as you're hitting them, which mostly comes out to 10%. So you just need to make sure that you do around 3 cycles of this 3rd skill. If you're going to be using him, or, you know, let's say you do Thrain, or even Hemos, it's the same thing for these guys, right? Let's see if I can find him. Yeah. Same thing for these guys. And this is different, though. His is 2 turns, so his is even more. So his is only 20%, so you would need to land at least 4 cycles of this skill right here. So that's why I believe Beretta is the better choice just by default. It just depends the stage, but, you know, it's completely up to you for you to decide that. Now, if we just go through some of these monsters, these are some examples that you can use. You know, stuff like Vertihill, super amazing. You want to make sure that you bring in monsters that can CC. So as long as you bring in stuff like, you know, I'll give you another example. Tyrone? Where are you, Tyrone? Up. Here you are. Sorry about that. You know, Tyrone brings a double AoE that also glancing hits and freezes on his 3rd skill. So if you bring monsters that can basically control the field and reducing damage, that is how you are basically going to get further in the stage. Now, this isn't really a huge thing. A lot of people know this, but for those that don't, this is the way you need to start treating Trial of Ascension, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And this is just telling you guys early on, for those of you that are trying to improve into ToA, this is how you do it. Bring a team that can survive. Like, even when I do my farmable teams, I could do this stage. Honestly, I could really do this stage with the farmable team that I use. Easy farmable team. You know, I can even just ditch Bernard and put in Mav. Easy. Right? It's just like, I could switch those too. This is a farmable team. Okay, so let's say you don't believe Mav is farmable. We put in Bernard. This team works too. Right? And the reason that this team works is it brings in elements that all you really need to do is make sure you put in enough debuffs and enough buffs that your team synergizes well together. You need to make sure that you're kind of covering all aspects. So when you get to ToA hard mode, you know, you want to make sure you've got someone to CC, someone to reduce the damage, some way. You don't need to, you know, you don't need Briand to AoE attack break. Even though he's amazing, you don't need to do AoE attack break. What you need to do is bring some kind of buff, like a defense buff or an AoE attack break. Now the fact that he has a leader skill now is just really cool. You know, let's say you don't have any other type of leader skill, you can always put resistance on, which has always been interesting for me. But yeah, guys, this is nothing new. Don't think of this as some new revolutionary technique. This is just a little bit of tips for you guys that are trying to improve in ToA, because I get a lot of people that are stuck on this Artamiel stage. All you need to do is reduce the damage, and you see me, if you guys ever watch my Trial of Ascension teams or whatever, the runs that I do, so like hard mode, a lot of you see my hard mode stages where I just auto all of it, and the reason I auto is just because I'm lazy. I'm really lazy with Trial of Ascension, because it gets tedious after a while. You know, you complete it for however many months I've been playing, like 15 months I've been playing, you just keep completing it and it gets boring. But The point is, you watch my teams, you notice that I take hits. I take hits. The point isn't trying to make the enemy never attack. You know, I could do that if I really wanted to. That's not the point. The point is making sure that your team can sustain itself as you do some form of damage. So as long as you can sustain yourself, whether it be trying to make sure that the enemy attack pattern is disrupted, which is another strategy. Let's say you bring in a freeze. You don't necessarily need to freeze every single one of the monsters. If you freeze, you know, a couple of the monsters, or slow down a couple of the monsters, then the attack pattern is disrupted, so they're not all attacking one after another. Because the way the stages work, if you notice, if you look at the stages, you look how, okay, there's 2 fire chimeras. They're treated the same way. They have the same attack speed, right? They all have the same attack speed. So this one goes, then this one goes, then this one goes. It's like, it's too much damage for your team to handle. But let's say we reduce the attack bar on this one, and this one's slowed down. Okay, well now this one goes. Now 2 of your units go, so maybe, oh yeah, you stun this one. Oh, and then this one goes. Now you only have to deal with 2 attacks. Maybe you could have gotten in a heal in between them, something like that, you know. Now if you do that on a larger scale with a 5-man team that's going against your team, it's not as difficult now because you can heal in between. You can maybe get in a couple stuns, put in some damage. Now for Trial of Ascension Normal, all you need is damage. Raw damage is really all you need, but once you hit Trial of Ascension Hard mode, you're going to start needing dots. That's just kind of a given. You need dots or bombs. It's going to take you forever if you try it the other way, and there's really no other way to approach it unless you've got really good runes. Alright? So just keep that in mind. It's seriously all about the buffs and the debuffs when you hit Trial of Ascension Hard mode, and if you treat Trial of Ascension Normal mode like that, and you bring in what you've got, trying to keep and make sure that your team survives as long as it can to basically ensure that you put in as much DPS as possible, then, you know, these stages really aren't that difficult. And you might say, like, oh, you've got the summons for it, you've got the runes, you've got all that stuff. I mean, sure, but I'm sure when I was in your place, like, I was still completing Trial of Ascension Normal mode just because I kind of started getting an understanding. And I probably would have been able to clear it even sooner had I had the understanding that I do now of this game. So, you know, it just comes to show that once you start understanding how kind of the mechanics work, you really will see an improvement in your gameplay. So if you guys are ever stuck on stuff like Artamiel or even the Occult Girls, try this, alright? Try to reduce the damage and make sure that the monsters don't attack back to back. If you guys try that, you'll see a significant change in the way you view ToA, and you'll start seeing improvement. So I have a full detailed guide on Artamiel. If you guys don't know already, check out my channel. Just go into the video section, and it's in there. It's in the Trial of Ascension videos. In case you guys don't know, it's Trial of Ascension Hard 50. It's the same concept on stage 90. This one's actually easier. Okay, so the Hard 50 is the same thing. I'm not going to repeat it just because it's a different stage. It's the exact same thing. So check that out if you're stuck on the stage, for anyone that's wondering. If you guys are just trying to overall improve your Trial of Ascension, take these precautionary measures. Just make sure that you use the summons to the best of your advantage, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the top 100 list someday, alright? Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comment section below. If you guys are wondering about anything, any kind of team comps, or just certain monsters in general. One thing that I should tell you guys before I head out is just because a monster has double AoE skills, you know, it doesn't mean it needs despair runes. It doesn't mean that it's specifically for ToA. You have to make sure that the skills that actually, you know, do, like, the actual skill set of those different skills contribute to Trial of Ascension, alright? And I'm specifically looking at stuff like the Fire Grim Reaper, okay? That's not a CC monster. Just saying. Alright guys, let me know what you guys think is the best Trial of Ascension monster in the comment section below. I look forward to what you guys have to say, and I will see you guys next time. Keep it real.